Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all attendees. Thank you for joining Bexel Manager online training program. My name is Alexander Ilic and I will be the panelist today. I'm an architect and senior BIM manager in Bexel Consulting Company with more than 6 years of experience in implementation of Bexel Manager on various international construction projects. For those who are with us today for the first time, let's just go through some general information regarding our educational program. The sessions are based this time on our newly released educational document, which is named Bexel Manager Step-by-Step Workflow Guide. It is a comprehensive document containing detailed explanations and exercise materials covering all features and all workflows of our software. In these training sessions, we are trying to walk you through the lessons and explain some general training steps that will help you to fully utilize this training document. If you haven't already tried Bexel Manager software, you can request a trial through our official website, bexelmanager.com. You can request a standard trial license, which is basically a 30-day trial period, for which you can experience complete all features of Bexel Manager softwares, and you can explore your BIM models in 3D, 4D, or 5D BIM analysis. You just need to request trial to fill the form with some basic information. And please note to use your company email as a registration email, since we request that in our trial request form. Also, we offer educational license for the students, PhD students, and professors on the universities. This trial license is actually for 1 year long. So you can experience a trial period for 1 year if you use it for educational purposes. And this is our way to support researchers and educational institutions around the world. You can also request demonstration requests. That means that if you want a demonstration about software capabilities, some of our professionals can just invite you on online session and demonstrate some basic features of the software. Besides Bexel Manager trial license, or when you apply for the license and when you get it, you're going to get username and password that will allow you to access Bexel user area. Bexel user area is online platform where you can find a lot of materials related to training, related to support, and basically to all additional features and materials needed for the software use. So when you sign in, you're going to see these 2 pages that are basically only the settings of your profile. And the third material window, which actually has 7 different chapters containing different materials. Please note that these materials are constantly updated. So we basically on a regular basis, we update and upload new materials. Is it educational materials or support materials for our users? So the first chapter contains manuals and handbooks. And the first one in this chapter is actually Bexel Manager Step-by-Step Workflow Guide, the document upon which all these training sessions are based. As I said, it's a big comprehensive document of more than 350 pages containing sample models, containing all support materials and detailed instructions to every single feature of the software. There are also handbooks and manuals which are basically more of a manual or textual document without detailed instructions and exercises, but they're available on numerous languages. You can download them. You can also find video tutorials if it's more suitable for you. you can find add-ins that we have developed, mostly model checkers, but also some add-ins that actually extend features of our software. You can also find API scripts, which could serve you as a basis for your personal customization of our software if you have some programming skills in C# program language. And the next chapter is called Demo or Sample Projects. I find it personally the most practical one because it contains sample projects in Bexel Manager that are based on different authoring tools, different types of project. The projects are accompanied by the document, which has step-by-step explanation of all the analysis performed in the model. So you can practice on the practical projects, and you can find the project that suits your authoring tool or the type or the scale of the project that you normally use in your project management work. There are also webinar materials. Those are basically recordings and also uh, some support materials from previous webinars. So if you missed any of them, you can find it here. And the last one is the databases, which actually means that we uploaded different cost databases that are suited for different markets, and you can actually download them and use them for free on your projects. They are formatted in a way to be easily integrated with Bexel Manager. So let's just minimize this. Yesterday, my colleague started with lesson 8 of our training program, and he introduced you to the cost databases and cost management in Bexel Manager. Today, we're moving forward and we're going to the scheduling. And since this topic is pretty complex in our software, we decided to split it in 2 sessions. One today, which will be devoted to the basic properties and basic workflows of the scheduling in Bexel Manager, and the second one, which will be demonstrated next week, which will explain more advanced workflows, or to be more precise, it will focus on intelligent scheduling module of our software and explain it in the detail. So let's start from the material itself. So after you download the step-by-step workflow guide and unpack the zipped folder, you're going to get folder like this. In this folder, you can find user manual, which is PDF document containing all the exercise explanations. You can find lessons, which are actually containing a manual document only for that chapter, as well as all supporting documents and exchange files needed for your exercises. And you're going to get also Bexel Manager sample project start, which means Bexel Manager project which is completely empty and which is ready to start your exercises, and also Bexel Manager complete project, which is Bexel Manager project with all the exercises and all analysis already done. And this one could serve you as a sort of compare project where you can see if your results are as the one that should be according to document after you finish your exercise. So as I said, today we're going to cover lesson 8. We're going to cover certain chapters that are related to basic scheduling features and workflows in Bexel Manager, and those are mostly chapter 8.2 and chapters 8.6 to 8.12. The rest of them are actually related to intelligent scheduling engine in some more advanced features that we'll be talking about next week. So as in all previous sessions, let's start by opening Bexel Manager start model for lesson 8.0. And let's start with the scheduling module. So the scheduling module is within schedule editor window. And as you see, we don't have any schedules in this exercise model. So the first thing we're going to do is to create new schedule. So we're going to create schedule by clicking the new schedule button. We're going to name it demo schedule. In case you have developed model, you're going to see in the later chapters and in the later sessions, you have opportunity to define baseline schedule with which this one could be compared, and also a cost version that will be connected or integrated with your schedule. For now, we don't have these options since this is the first schedule into this project. So basically, we are getting the empty schedule with one parent master task, which has default duration of 40 hours, which is defined in default settings of the schedule. And we can now create, well, Bexel Manager actually gives you two main types of workflows for the scheduling. One is what we call traditional one, which means that you are able to create schedule in the same way as in some traditional tools, one task at a time. And we have certain variations of that workflow. And another one is intelligent scheduling, which actually introduces huge amount of automation in the whole process. Today, we're going to show you only these traditional ones that we consider not as the one that we recommend to be used, but the users are just used to that way of creating schedules. So let's start with that one. So if you want to create new tasks, it is done basically in the same way as in other traditional scheduling tools by defining new task. Here you're going to see that Bexel Manager contains multiple options for the task creation. In this case, we're going to start with the first option with creating a blank task. We're going to call it new task 1. So if we want to create another one, we can repeat this process or simply copy existing one into the master parent task and get the new task. If we want to modify task, we have two options. We can go right click and task editor or go directly from the command line. So if you go to task editor, first we're going to rename it, not to have this generic name. And then we're going to check all the possibilities to modify your tasks. So basically in task editor, you can define the duration of your task. You can define it in working days or working hours. You can define the calendar. You can define constraint. You can define relations and introduce new ones directly here in task editor. And we're going to exercise it right now. So as I said, just go to the new predecessor. We have only one task to connect with. We can define type of the relationship. So it's pretty, everybody who has ever done the scheduling is pretty familiar with this. You can define the lag, let's say 24 hours for this example, and you have relation already defined. Right now, our Gantt chart is not very visible, so we have this option to click on the task and scale it. We also have option to change the scale of the Gantt chart by clicking Control and scroll on your mouse pointer, or simply by dragging it left and right with the left click of your mouse. So let's go back to the task editor and check some other options. So you can check relations here. You can define rules. We're going to talk about this later more in detail. You can get cost information in case you have cost integrated with your schedule. You can check the quantities. If the quantities are integrated with your schedule, you can check resources, activities, different properties that are linked to your tasks. You can attach documents, and at the end, you have an opportunity also to change certain settings that are related to the animation. So you can change how certain tasks will appear in the 5D or 4D animation in the software. But we're going to leave this for later. So right now, let's go and make some subtasks within these created tasks. So we can create new blank task called subtask 1. We can again use copy to speed up the process. We can edit the name. And we can just, for example, create one milestone task. Just to see that option as well. Let's just copy these tasks to the other parent task as well. So right now we have created only a schedule structure with only one relation defined. And we can go and make these relations in the same way as we did in the first example with relating these two tasks. But since it's time consuming, and since Bexel Manager offers some additional viewers, we can exercise different approach. So besides Gantt chart view of the schedule, you are as user also able to use logic and to use line of balance view. So logic could be very helpful in schedule modification and creation, since it's more graphical and it gives user an opportunity to connect to connect tasks with ease and in a more graphical manner. So first you can use pop out function, which is basically just to make this window full screen. Since these two master tasks are already connected, we're going to go into one of them and see that we have subtasks that are not connected. They don't have relations. So we're going to just place them in the order we find appropriate. And by simple dragging arrow connections, we can easily define relationships between tasks. We can define type of our relationship. We can define lag if there is a lag. Let's just, for example, make one. Click enter and click apply. And here we can apply different type, let's say finish relation. We can go back and do the same thing for the other task. Create relations, modify them, apply the changes, finish. Okay. If we go back, I mean, we can go back to this one to see nothing is changed in this view. So we can go back to Gantt chart, scale, and see that we have our relations defined in Gantt chart as well, and line of balance is changed also. So everything is interconnected. Another way of changing the properties of your tasks and your relation is to use this pop out window, which allows you to change certain properties or certain settings of task editor directly in a Gantt chart and logic chart view. So basically what you can do, you can just mark any task you want to change duration, and do it the same way as we did in the logic view. 48, for example. and you're also able to modify relations as well. So you can change, let's say, the lag here. Besides that, some of the basic functionalities here are also the basic settings of the schedule that could be changed. They are defined, I mean, you can change the color, but this is defined to link rules after the schedule is linked to the elements, some animation settings, as well as start and end date of the project. For now, we're gonna leave it as it is. Also, you can modify calendars. You can make exceptions. You can define working hours, working days in the same way. You can duplicate, delete, or rename your calendars. So more or less is as in any other traditional scheduling software. But what is specific for this manually created schedule is that it is not a real BIM schedule, since, as you can see, no elements are connected to the schedule. So this is only a schedule that could be used as a Gantt chart or any other type of chart, but it cannot for now serve as a basis for the animation. And we're going to explain how you can create schedule directly linked to the elements of the model, as well as how you can import schedule or create schedule in this way, as we explained, and then link it later to the model. And we're going to do it in following chapters. So for now, let's create another blank schedule and call it demo schedule creation rules. It's gonna be used for demonstration of different approach to schedule creation, which is not made in a way to define blank schedules that are not related to model elements, but to directly create schedule tasks that are linked to the model elements. So for this, we're going to use predefined selection sets that are going to help us to define schedule structure. Since we have limited time for this presentation, we will have to import already defined selection sets to match the sources. In this case, they're automatically matched. Define that we are importing selection sets. And here we have selection sets for our schedule creation. So as I explained that when you are creating new task, you have numerous options to do that. We have explained the first one and the second one. Now we're going to explain third and fourth one. So what that means, the first one, or the linked one, means that you can create your schedule, which is a scheduled task, which is directly linked on certain properties of elements or selection sets previously defined, or any other category or property that you can find useful. So in this case, we're going to demonstrate it on selection sets. And here we have, let's first explore selection sets so it's going to be clearer to you what we intend to do. So here we prepared selection sets containing only structural elements of this project to simplify the schedule for the purpose of demonstration. And these selection sets actually sort structural elements into separate floors. You can see that every selection set contains different floor, and also into different element categories. And our intention is actually to create schedule that sorts element on two levels. The first level would be on the floors, and the second level will be on the element categories. So if we want to create new tasks with linked function, we can do it. We can create multiple tasks at once. So we can go to selection sets, but as I said, you can use anything else as well. We're going to just demonstrate it for now on selection sets. You can check the selection sets that sort the elements according to the position on the building floors. And we have get 5 tasks for 5 floors. If we go to the further breakdown of the schedule, we're gonna create another layer which will sort the elements by element category. So if we do this, we're gonna see the difference from the previously created schedule, where if you remember, we had 0 elements linked to the scheduled tasks, and now we have elements directly connected or linked to scheduled tasks right after creation. And if we try to check if these elements are connected, we can go to selection, select elements, and we're going to see that we have only selected the beams on the level 0, 1. But when you use a link rule for the creation, the algorithm will also create what we call empty tasks, because we told him to create tasks that are related to these 7 selection sets. He also created tasks for the elements that doesn't appear in this floor and are for this category. For instance, roofs, we don't have roofs on entry level. So this task is created as an empty task. Also, you should know when you use this rule, if you made any changes to these selection sets or to any other parameters that you used as a basis for your schedule creation, the schedule is not going to be updated. And on the other hand, if we use the other possibility for task creation called creation rule, reference children based rule, and use the same thing, if we just mark these 7 selection sets that sort elements by category, we're going to see that it only created 4 tasks. So it basically filtered all the selection set that doesn't contain elements for this floor. And if you create schedule in this way, you're going to be able to update it by just simply changing the selection sets or any other property that is changed within your project. So the next step is to make one complete schedule from scratch using creation rules. Let's just create a blank one. Okay. So again, we have created completely blank schedule with only one task. We can go create by creation rule first level of organization, and we're going to get these 5 main floors as organization, and we can repeat this for every floor with the categories. So just use the same workflow every time. We can pop out the window because it's going to be easier to track what we're doing here. So again, you can create new tasks by simply defining the parent folder of the selection sets. like this. Okay, right now we have created complete schedule structure, and it looks the same as the one that we have here in the selection sets that's created manually. And it took much more time to define this schedule structure like this manually, if not using CBS or some other workflows that we have in our software, than to create schedule using creation rules like this. But the problem with this schedule that we have is that we have tasks that are directly linked to the elements. We can demonstrate that here as well. For instance, let's try to select the columns on second floor, and here they are. So everything is directly linked to the model. But the problem is that we don't have any relations between these tasks. So to define to define relations, we would use the same workflow that we used on the first demo schedule and use logic view for this, which is more practical for defining relationships. So we're going to just position our parent tasks in right order. So it's going to be sub-level, level 1, level 2, level 3, and the roof. And then within every level, we can define how the categories are going to be executed on the construction site, or in short, we can define construction sequence like this. So for the next level, let's say, okay, first we're going to execute beams, then we're going to execute slabs, then we're going to, after we complete slabs, we're going to execute walls and structural columns. They can be done in the same way and in the same time. We can repeat this for every floor like this. Of course, you are able to further fine-tune these relations to add legs or whatever is necessary for the project on the real life project. I would say here, for the purpose of demonstration, we're gonna just do the basic relationships, and we're gonna put beams, slabs, again the same pattern. I also have to say that all this manual connection could be done much easier through intelligent scheduling, which we will explain next week. So it's much less manual work if you go that way, but we kept these workflows as well, since some users just prefer to do it this way. Okay, we have completed all our relations. We can go back to the Gantt chart, scale to see how it looks like. And now we can say that we have properly structured schedule for the structural works of this project. But as you can see, you cannot see much based on the Gantt chart. So it would be great if you can test the schedule immediately in the animation. So you can do this in Bexel Manager easily by just going to Schedule Animation window, click Update Animation button. Please make sure that the schedule that you want to test in Schedule Animation is the active schedule here in the schedule editor at the time. So go to Schedule Animation, go to Schedule Viewer. Right now, we don't see anything, of course, because it's a start date of the project. But if we hit play, let me just zoom it a little bit. We're going to see the animation of construction process based on the schedule we have just created. And for now, it looks logical. We don't have any problems with certain elements popping out of nowhere or having elements that defy laws of physics, which is often case with the schedules that are created out of integrated BIM approach, let's say. So we can say that this schedule is now okay. So this is one of the workflows to create schedule, and I believe this is probably the fastest way to do it within traditional workflow or creating schedule one task at a time. Well, in reality, this was not really a one task at a time, but few tasks. Anyway, it will take some time to develop complex and large schedules in this way. Once you have created your schedule, you also have options to export it. You can export it to some traditional scheduling softwares like MS Project, Primavera. You can export it to Synchro, and you also have certain export options for the reports. So you can use your data integrated in the schedule for the reports. Some other basic functionalities for the schedule are also ability to duplicate your schedule. So you can duplicate this one and call it, let's say, just 2. So you can duplicate it. You can also modify this duplicated schedule. That's also important thing, that you know that if you want to modify your schedule and also to keep the baseline, please make a copy of your schedule and then modify a copy and keep the original one as the baseline for comparison. So I don't know, let's also exercise some features of selection. So if you want to select, for example, here, you want to select all leaf tasks or children tasks of your schedule, you can simply go to the master parent task, go to selection and go to select leaf tasks. And then you can change duration, for instance, at once to all scheduled tasks with one click, basically. You can do the same for the partial schedule. Parents, select leaf tasks. So we can make modifications with ease. What you can also do, you can use filters. If you, for instance, want to change only duration or any other settings in the beams, you can just type beams and you can easily filter only the tasks related to beams, change duration to, I don't know, for example, we're gonna change it like this. And it will give you opportunity to control your schedule. Oh, I made a mistake. I put duration in working days. I was meaning working hours. Okay, now it's better. So you have complete control over your schedule. You can also select certain task and try to find it in the logic view or try to find it in line of balance view, which is also interesting feature that will help you to see your schedule from different views, to see different properties of the schedule, to evaluate it and to fine tune it in the best way. When we come to the linkage between schedule tasks and the elements, as I already show you, you can always select elements that are related to certain task by simply going to selection, select elements. But there's also interesting feature that gives you an opportunity to find task in which certain model element is placed. So find task with elements. There it is. This could be also helpful with linking process and with animation fine-tuning. It will help you a lot, especially with the complex and large scale projects. So after we have completed the chapter regarding creating the schedule, we have to talk about another workflow that is also common with project managers, and that is that they do not develop schedules in BIM management tool, but they like to develop it in a traditional scheduling tools or softwares, and then to import it and link it to the model in the software. So we also have an opportunity to exercise that workflow as well. So basically, in the same way as you can export your schedules created in Bexel Manager to other softwares for scheduling, you have ability to import it also from various softwares. So now we're gonna exercise schedule import from MS Project. Schedule MS Project. So again, we have to create blank schedule. Here we can even define certain schedule to use it as a baseline, but we can do it later. Cost versions for now we don't have, but if you have it integrated in your BIM model, you can also connect it to your schedule, but we're going to talk about that more in the next session. So we're going to create blank schedule, and we're going to go to import. Let's just check what we have. So this is also a simple schedule created in MS Project. It has the same structure as the one we made in Bexel Manager, with slightly altered durations and some relationships. So we're gonna try to import this schedule directly to Bexel Manager by import from MS Project. Here I prepared it in my folder. So here, when you open the schedule import wizard window, you have opportunity to choose if you're going to import the whole schedule, if you're going to import only certain part of a schedule, let's say this one, or just one task at a time. You have opportunity to check the settings. So you can choose which calendar you're going to use. You can import the calendar from the schedule of from the original file. You can define your constraint priority. You can import imported dates. You can import progress, which we don't recommend because schedule in Bexel Manager works differently than in other scheduling tools or traditional scheduling tools, which means if you have any import data, any progress data imported in the schedule is an active schedule and it will be modified according to this progress input. Let's say if you had certain task in the schedule that was scheduled to be executed in 5 working days, and when you import the progress that it was executed in 10 days, the schedule in Bexel Manager will automatically extend this task to that 10 days to the progress information actually. So it is our advice to uncheck this option, not to import progress data, to import the schedule from outside source into Bexel Manager, to link it to the elements, and then import the progress information in Bexel Manager because it's more accurate and it's much easier to do than in the classic tools. So again, you can also choose which properties you want to import and which not. So everything is customizable. Okay, we have just finished our import. We can pop out the window to see our schedule in detail. Let's fit it. We can expand all or collapse all for easier navigation through the schedule. And as we can see, we have this structure of the schedule defined. We just don't have any relation to the project elements yet. So what is the purpose of the schedule that doesn't have relation with the elements in BIM tool? The only way to connect this schedule to the elements is through link rules. If we open link rules window, on the left side, we can see the structure of our schedule. As I said, we have imported it with all dates, with all durations, with all relations defined. So we don't have anything else to do. We just need to somehow find a way to connect these tasks to the project elements. So we can do it in the few ways. The most time consuming way is to make selection set structure that is equal to the one of the imported schedule. And that will give you opportunity to just drag and drop every single task and connect it to corresponding selection set in your model. You can also rely on some other properties as well. So you have option to do that. So if your imported schedule follows certain rule, right? Like, I don't know, you have project with multiple buildings and your schedule is structured in a way to have building 1, building 2, building 3, you can use this property building to connect it to your schedule. You don't have to make any additional selection sets or any additional data management for that. So right here, we can do it by drag and drop. And it takes some time even for this simple schedule. And you can imagine how labor intensive it is for the complex big schedules. So that's why we don't recommend this workflow as the prime one. Sorry. There it is. Okay. If we want this schedule to work, we would also need to connect the parent tasks as well in the same way. But if we don't have this structure, we can do it also with this function. We can just mark the leaf tasks of the schedule and say distribute to parent tasks like this, and to do it automatically. This could save you some time in schedule creation. Okay, if you click OK and click update the schedule, you're going to have a lot of warnings. The warnings that are mostly saying that certain elements will be added to the task. Just click update. And now you see that the element count says that all our tasks are related to the elements now. So basically, if we go to the schedule animation, update it, and hit play, we're going to see that we have successfully linked our elements to the imported schedule from MS Project. And we see certain problems in this schedule. It seems like working sequence was not properly done in the process. Okay, that's one workflow that I would say include more manual work. There's another one which we're going to exercise now. Demo schedule MS Project workflow 2. This one, so we're going to just repeat the same process of importing the schedule. We're going to just check this part. We're going to uncheck progress information. Okay, now we have this schedule imported. This workflow gives you an opportunity to a certain level, automate linking of the elements to the schedule. And you can do it by simple creating selection sets only for the levels of your schedule. So let's say if the first level of your schedule is building stories, you can make just the selection sets for building stories, or simply just use that parameter from the software itself. And if the second level of organization is categories, you can just make simple selection sets for the categories and use it for the linkage. You don't have to do this. You don't have to combine these two levels of organization, because software can do that for you. So for this workflow, we should go, let's pop it out. We should go, instead of link rules, we can go to edit rules. Here we have option to see our schedule in two ways. One is by tasks. So this is a classic view where you see hierarchy of the scheduled tasks, and the another one is levels. So with the level views, you see all the tasks that are on the level 1 organization and all the tasks that are on level 2 in this example project. Why is this helpful? Because instead of connecting every single task with every single selection set in the structure, you can just mark them all together. Right click, go to link rule and use option map. The map will allow you to find your selection sets that correspond with the names of the task. Just mark them all. Click OK, and now you have reference object linked automatically and matched by the names. You can do it is here, it doesn't show you much difference because you just connected one task with one source, but here, for instance, you have beams in for these different subtasks. In the previous traditional workflow, you would have to connect every one of them. Right here, you can just select them all, go to link rule, go to map, find this organization of selection sets, connect them, click OK, and everything is connected. So just click OK and click update. You're gonna again get warnings that you're gonna have added elements to your tasks. And now we can check again how our schedule looks like. And now we also see that we have by element count that we have connected all the elements into this imported schedule. And we spend a lot less time than in the first workflow. So again, we can check it through schedule animation just to see if it follows the schedule. Yes, it is. Okay, yeah. It seems like it is working for now. Okay, that was the basics of schedule and working with the schedule. There is only one more basic property that we have to explain. So we have explained how to import and export schedules to the other softwaring tools, to the other scheduling tools. And we just have to explain that you can also export or exchange schedules between different projects by simply using exchange function. Exchange, export. You can find the schedules here. Click next and decide which schedule you want to export. Find the place, name it, export. And this schedule could be imported into other Bexel Manager model and linked to the elements as well. So for the end, I'm going to just demonstrate schedule import by this way. We're going to import schedule that is much more complex than the ones that we have created today. which also contains a lot of connected documents, a lot of integrated information. And we're going to just use it as a demo to see what sorts of analytics we could have within schedule, which is fully developed, which is fully, at this moment, it's not linked to the elements. So we'll have to make an update of the schedule to link it with the elements. Okay, the update is successful. And now we see that the whole schedule is linked to the elements. And you're going to see also that now you have prices or total cost assigned to every task. Also, if you had a schedule, we're going to see it next week with the progress information, you could see also baseline cost, you could see earned value analysis and all different analysis. And you can add all these columns by simply insert column and find any other property that you want to display. I don't know, let's say constraint. We can see the constraint for every single task. So you can basically customize your Gantt chart in the way you want. If we check line of balance for this schedule, you can see how line of balance for complex schedule gives you a better perspective for optimization and for trying to reach better performances of the schedule. Also, we're going to check the available analytics by clicking the parent task of the schedule and going to task report, which in this case shows you cost per month of the project. So the cash flow, it shows you cumulative cost, the S curve. It shows you the labor and all the equipment, all the resources that are assigned and their distribution through time. It can show you the activity. So basically it gives you an opportunity to really examine all possible properties and to evaluate your schedule and to optimize it in the best possible way. So that's it for today. I'm going to just check if you had any interesting questions that were not a no. I see only, yeah, we only have one question that was if when we change from logic to schedule editor view, will it update the Gantt immediately? Yes, they are just two different views of the same schedule. So you're able, and not only logic and Gantt, but Gantt, logic, and line of balance schedule, you can both see the schedule in these three different views, but you can also modify it, and all modifications are automatically reflected in all three views. So if there are no more questions, then I believe we can conclude today's sessions, and thank you very much for your attention. See you next week.